The Fresno Nightcrawler is a pair of haunted pants that somehow achieved enlightenment before the rest of us. It first stumbled into existence via a grainy security camera in the middle of suburban California. Because of course it did. Every cursed thing in American folklore begins with bad resolution. The footage looks like your grandpa's VHS tape of a ghost parade. Two white, leg-like figures gliding through the darkness like they've been unburdened by the concept of torsos. People call it creepy. I call it existentially efficient. Why waste energy on arms and heads when all you really need are legs to escape this economy? The Nightcrawler is the patron saint of minimalism. It's what you'd get if Casper joined a yoga cult and transcended material design. But there's something unnervingly intentional about how it moves. Not frantic, not confused, just gliding. Smooth, steady, like a walking meditation led by an ancient god of confusion. And when you watch that footage at 2 a.m., something in your brain, some small cowardly part, starts whispering, that's not fake. That's the real world finally leaking. Because deep down, we want the Fresno Nightcrawler to be real. We want something absurd, harmless, yet deeply alien to remind us that not every monster needs teeth. Sometimes horror wears silence like a crown. Sometimes it's a walking metaphor for how disconnected we become, moving forward with no body, no soul, just motion. No one knows where it came from. Theories range from aliens to interdimensional wanderers to just a dude in flowy pajama pants. But none of those theories explain the vibe. That's what people miss. It's not the sight, it's the vibe, that sense that the world is stranger than it pretends to be. The Nightcrawler doesn't roar or chase or kill. It just exists, and somehow that's worse. It's the closest thing we have to a peaceful apocalypse. A cryptid that doesn't need to hurt you because it already knows you'll destroy yourself trying to explain it. Some say it's connected to nature spirits from native Californian lore, a symbol of balance and renewal. I like that idea, that these things aren't monsters at all, but reminders, gentle warnings wrapped in nightmare silhouettes. Walk softly. They whisper. The world is watching. The Fresno Nightcrawler is a mirror, and you're not going to like what you see walking in it. The Mongolian death worm is the desert's bad mood given flesh. Locals call it Algoi Korkoi, which roughly translates to large intestine worm, which tells you everything you need to know. It's said to live under the sands of the Gobi Desert, a scarlet sausage of doom that kills without mercy and without reason. This creature doesn't roar. It doesn't chase. It erupts. It surfaces from beneath the ground like a biological landmine, spitting acid and electricity, because apparently nature looked at this part of the planet and decided, yeah, it needs a murder sausage. It's a nightmare that doesn't fit into logic. Too large to hide, too deadly to miss, yet somehow unseen by science. Maybe that's the trick. Maybe it's not a creature at all. Maybe it's a phenomenon, a manifestation of fear, a weather pattern of dread, the desert's own immune system, purging trespassers like a body fighting infection. The Mongolian death worm is more than just a folk story. It's the anxiety of emptiness. The Gobi is a place where silence isn't peace. It's pressure, sand pressing on your sanity, heat stripping away your thoughts until all that's left is primal terror. And then you hear it, the hiss, the rumble, the shifting beneath your feet. People report it striking camels dead. Others say it can kill on contact. One explorer even claimed it could project a bolt of electricity from its mouth, a literal biological taser. But maybe what's more horrifying than that is the idea that the desert might just be alive. Imagine you're walking through dunes for days, hallucinating from thirst. You see the sand move. You tell yourself it's just wind. But then the earth splits, and you see the color red. Not blood, not flesh, but something older. The kind of red that makes your stomach remember extinction. The Mongolian death worm doesn't need to exist to be terrifying. The mere idea of it is a virus, a whisper that infects your rational brain. Because what's scarier? A monster under the sand, or the realization that something in this world is still unknown, still unobserved, still waiting. And maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for you. The Flatwoods monster isn't just a cryptid. It's a psychological event that accidentally got dressed like a traffic cone. The year was 1952. Small-town America, where everything was beige and people trusted milk. A group of locals see a bright red light crash into the woods. They go to investigate, because curiosity has always been humanity's most fatal trait, and what they find isn't an alien, isn't a machine, but something between both. They describe a towering figure, over 10 feet tall, hovering, wearing a metallic skirt with claw-like hands, and a head shaped like the ace of spades. Its eyes glow red. Its movement is mechanical. The air stinks of burning metal and ozone. That night, reality briefly lost connection. The Flatwoods monster doesn't act like a living thing. It doesn't chase, doesn't roar, doesn't even look curious. It inspects. That's worse. You don't inspect ants unless you're running an experiment. And that's exactly how the witnesses felt. Like they'd stumbled into something studying them back. Every description of the creature feels like a fever dream filtered through Cold War paranoia. The kind of story that makes skeptics twitch because it's too weird to be fake. You can almost see it. A slow-moving goddess of technology, rising from the woods to remind humanity that it is not in charge. Some say it was a meteor. Others say it was a military test. I say it was a moment the universe accidentally opened its inbox and realized Earth was still sending messages. Even the name, Flatwoods Monster, feels inadequate. It sounds like something you'd find on a 1950s cereal box, not an interdimensional judge glowing like a red warning light from the future. And maybe that's the point. Maybe it wanted to be remembered like that, half believed, half forgotten, because that's how myths survive. Every time you look into the woods at night and think you see a red light flicker, remember, something once came down from the sky, looked us over, and decided we weren't worth the paperwork. The Loveland Frogman is a 4-foot-tall humanoid frog from Ohio. Yes, Ohio, because apparently that state wasn't already cursed enough. Witnesses say it stands upright like a man, with leathery skin, bulging eyes, and the sort of posture that screams, "I pay taxes and regret everything." It's been seen near bridges, creeks, and the empty spaces in people's sanity where reason once lived. The first sighting was in the 1950s. A businessman driving late at night spots 3 figures on the roadside, not men, not animals. Frogs, standing, holding what looks like a wand that shoots sparks. Just imagine that for a second. You're tired, driving home, the radio's humming static, and you see an amphibian wizard throwing fireflies at you. How do you even process that? You don't. You move to another state. Then, in 1972, a police officer saw one again. The creature crouched by a bridge, glowing eyes, muscles like wet rope. He aimed his gun, fired, and claimed the thing leapt over the railing into the river below. They said it might have been an escaped iguana. Sure, because iguanas famously use pyrotechnic wands in rural Ohio. But the frogman has a strange energy about him. He's not monstrous in a fanged nightmare way. He's unsettling in that wrong environment way, like seeing a fish in a tree or a man laughing alone in an empty subway. It's not what he is. It's where he doesn't belong. Maybe that's why people still talk about him. Maybe the Loveland Frogman isn't just a monster. Maybe he's a metaphor for evolution's bad sense of humor. Or maybe he's a mirror again, like the Fresno Nightcrawler. Maybe he's what happens when humanity's pollution, myths, and repressed thoughts ferment together in a swamp until something grows that shouldn't. There's even a modern cult following, plush toys, songs, memes. Because that's what we do now. We take our horrors, wrap them in irony, and pretend we're not scared anymore. But deep down, we still look under bridges at night. We still flinch when we hear a splash too close. Because maybe the frogman's still out there, watching us try to make him cute. And maybe, when the last laugh comes, it'll sound a lot like a croak. The Wendigo is hunger given consciousness. It comes from Algonquian legend, a spirit born when a human gives into cannibalism in the frozen wilderness. Its body stretches thin. Its mouth cracks from jaw to ear, and its eyes glow with starvation that never ends. You don't become a Wendigo. You get devoured by one from the inside. Every story agrees on one thing. The Wendigo's appetite is infinite. No matter how much it eats, it's never enough. Imagine that, your whole existence reduced to wanting. A body that only knows hunger, even when it's full. It's not just a monster. It's a punishment for greed itself. Some say it stalks forests. Others say it lives inside people, waiting for them to lose control, to snap under the pressure of cold and fear and isolation. That's the real terror. Not claws or teeth, but the idea that under the right conditions, anyone could become it. You ever notice how hunger and guilt have the same shape? How obsession feels like chewing your own soul? That's the Wendigo. It's every addiction, every compulsion, every part of you that whispers more when you know you should stop. When the settlers came, they thought they brought civilization with them. But the Wendigo was already there, smiling through the trees, whispering in their sleep. Welcome home. If the night crawler is silence, and the death worm is power, then the Wendigo is the whisper that eats the silence, the reminder that beneath every act of survival lies a kind of monstrous pleasure. You can burn it, shoot it, pray at it, but it never dies, because it's not a creature. It's a hunger that learned your name. The Ningen is the ocean's unfinished thought. Japanese whaling crews started whispering about it in the early 2000s. A pale, humanoid creature gliding beneath the Antarctic waves. Sometimes it looks like a mermaid, sometimes like a whale with a face. Always white, always enormous, always watching. The name Ningen literally means human, which is ironic, because the Ningen feels like everything we're not. Silent, slow, at peace, but terrifyingly alien. Satellite images allegedly capture its form under the ice. 5 limbs, a torso, a hint of a face. Imagine standing on a ship deck at 3 a.m., surrounded by black water, and realizing something beneath the surface is mimicking your shape. Bigger, purer, stranger. The sea ripples. Your reflection changes. You blink. And for one perfect second, you're not sure if you're looking down or being looked at. That's the Ningen's real horror. The reflection of humanity not quite right. The uncanny perfection of nature imitating us, or maybe replacing us. Scientists say it's nonsense. A misidentified whale, isollusions, pareidolia. But I think the Ningen is the ocean reminding us who the original God really was. We like to think we own the planet, but there's a whole civilization beneath the waves that doesn't care about our maps or myths. And if the Ningen is real, it's not curious. It's patient. It's waiting for the day we stop floating above its world and finally sink deep enough to meet it. When that day comes, don't scream. Just way back. The Kushtaka is an Alaskan shapeshifter that laughs like a human drowning in its own voice. Tlingit legend says these creatures live near the coasts and rivers, waiting for sailors and travelers who wander too close to the water. They appear as people, familiar faces, lost loved ones, even yourself, before dragging you under and turning you into one of them. It's poetic, really. A monster that saved you by destroying you. Because that's the Kushtaka's twisted logic. It doesn't kill, it converts. It rescues you from freezing to death by remaking you into something that can survive the cold. The problem is, you stop being human in the process. And if that doesn't sound like modern life, I don't know what does. Picture this. A figure on the ice, calling your name. You recognize a voice, your mother, your lover, your own echo, and you follow it, because the human brain is terrible at ignoring ghosts that sound familiar. The closer you get, the more wrong it feels. The laughter gets sharper, too high-pitched, too bright, like glass grinding against teeth. Then the ice cracks. Then the water welcomes you home. The Kushtaka are tricksters, sure, but their cruelty feels evolutionary. They don't hate you. They just don't remember what empathy was. And that's somehow more terrifying than malice, a creature that hurts you without meaning to, because it can't even conceive of harm. Some stories say they can mimic human cries perfectly, like an echo bouncing off the cliffs of loneliness. Others say they collect souls, stitching them together into their own frozen choir. I like to think every laughter of a Kushtaka is really a collection of all the voices it's stolen, harmonized in a madness that sounds almost joyful. Maybe that's what eternity sounds like. Laughter that doesn't stop when you do. The Jersey Devil isn't just folklore. It's America's anxiety disorder with wings. Picture colonial New Jersey in the 1700s. A woman known as Mother Leeds gives birth to her 13th child and, in a fit of despair, curses it. Let it be the devil. Lightning cracks, the child mutates, grows horns, bat wings, hooves, then flies screaming into the Pine Barrens, leaving everyone's sanity behind. That's the story, anyway. The real monster is the idea that something so human, so domestic, could flip inside out in a single moment. Every retelling adds new traits: glowing eyes, blood-curdling screeches, speed faster than any bird. The kind of thing that shows up in your rear-view mirror when you drive through dark woods too long. The Jersey Devil is chaos personified, the guilt of unwanted creation. It's the cry of something that was never supposed to exist, but does anyway. The Pine Barrens themselves feel like an open wound, a place that swallows logic. And deep inside that wound, something flaps, waiting for attention. Sightings have persisted for over 250 years. People have heard it scream like metal twisting. Farmers found livestock drained of blood. Police officers claim to chase it, only for it to vanish mid-flight. Every era gets the monster it deserves, and the Jersey Devil is ours, born from resentment, raised on urban decay, and kept alive by the internet's endless appetite for dread. Some say it's still out there, perched in the branches, watching the highways like a gargoyle of lost faith. And maybe it's laughing, because it knows the truth. You don't need to be cursed to make a monster. You just need to be born in the wrong place. The Pope Lick Monster is what happens when myth meets machinery. Kentucky, 1940s. There's a trestle bridge near Louisville, stretching over the Pope Lick Creek. Locals say if you cross it at night, you'll meet something half man, half goat, with twisted horns and cloven feet, waiting for you mid-span. Sometimes it hypnotizes you with its voice, luring you onto the tracks until a train finishes what it started. Sometimes it chases you itself. Either way, the result's the same: one more name for the obituaries, one more legend for the locals. But the horror isn't the goat man. It's the bridge. Narrow, exposed, humming with vibration. You can't run forward, can't run back. There's nowhere to go but down. And that's where the Pope Lick Monster lives. Not in the trees or the shadows, but in the part of your brain that wants to look down, to imagine falling. It's a perfect symbiosis, a legend that feeds on the death it inspires. Every daredevil that climbs the bridge gives the story new blood. The creature doesn't even have to exist anymore. It's immortalized through our obsession with testing fate. Maybe that's what the Pope Lick Monster really is, the human instinct to court destruction, to flirt with the void. We build a bridge, whisper a rumor, and birth a demon that only exists because we keep visiting it. So if you ever find yourself there, don't look down. Don't listen. And for the love of whatever God still tolerate us, don't think. The Dover demon is the reason you don't go outside when your brain starts whispering. What if? It's a small creature, child-size, hairless, pale and fragile looking, like something unfinished. Big glowing eyes, tendril fingers, no mouth that anyone can remember. It was seen just once in 1977 in Dover, Massachusetts, by a few unlucky teenagers who probably aged 20 years that night. Descriptions vary, but the feeling is universal. It looked human, but wasn't. That's the worst kind of monster. Not the kind that roars, but the kind that stares. Like it's waiting for you to realize something you're not supposed to. One witness said it crawled on all fours over a rock wall, spider-like, deliberate. Another swore its eyes glowed orange, reflecting car headlights like polished copper. Scientists said it was a baby moose. Of course they did, because that's how we cope. We rename horror until it sounds stupid. But the Dover demon doesn't fit. Its skin, its size, its movements, all wrong. It's like a sketch of a human drawn by something that's never actually seen one, only read about us in a dream. Maybe that's what it is, a prototype. The universe testing out the idea of person and deciding, nope, too uncanny, scrap it. It's not violent. It doesn't speak. It doesn't even stay long enough to scare you properly. It just appears, looks at you, and leaves you with a kind of silence that rewires your sleep. Because it's not just a sight that haunts you. It's the understanding that something intelligent saw you first. There's a theory that the Dover demon was extraterrestrial, a scout, a fragment of something bigger. But I think it's smaller than that. I think it's a leftover, a biological typo, a reminder that the world isn't finished, that creation still makes mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes wander into town. The scariest part? It never came back. Not once. Which means either it died, or it learned enough to stop being seen. And somehow, the second option feels worse. Because if the Dover demon was a test run, then somewhere out there, the final version might already be walking among us. The night grows quieter now, and the list ends here. 10 faces, 10 shapes, 10 mirrors pointed back at the human condition. Every cryptid we invent says something we refuse to admit. We're terrified of ourselves. Monsters don't come from the woods or the deep or the desert. They come from the gaps in our own reflection. And if you stare long enough into those gaps, you might start to crawl out, too.